Boy, silly season is coming in hard today. Yo, what's going on, people? Welcome back to Football Therapy with me, your host Jan. I do hope you lot are all doing well today, my friends. I really do hope that. Namaste. Welcome back to Chelsea News, of course, the daily series here on Football Therapy, where I see what's being said around the Blues, or the news about the Blues, giving you my opinion on it, but of course, asking for yours. Two big whoppers circulating the headlines today, friends. Eden Hazard being offered back to Chelsea, yet again being reported by Spanish publications for £50 million. Though you should almost certainly never go back, with Eden Hazard it's a special case, and I do want to dip into that article. And some reports are suggesting that Timo Werner might be happy for a return to Germany to go to Dortmund to help Chelsea somehow get an Erling Haaland deal over the line. Lots to talk about with that story. I am absolutely melting in my office. Settle in, subscribe if you're new, only if you want to, friends. Drop a like if you want to help me out in the dark abyss that is the YouTube algorithm. As we get into the first part of today's video and start off with Eden Hazard. That's right, boys and girls, Eden Hazard, Chelsea's jewel in the crown for so long, who's had a bit of a nightmare occasion over in Real Madrid since he's transferred. Of course, at Chelsea, he spent very little time on the sidelines with injury, and that's pretty much all he's done since he's arrived in Madrid. Going on a deal that could rise up to £150 million, Real Madrid will be very disappointed with how the transfers turned out, and there's suggestions that he's being offered back to Chelsea for as little as £50 million. Now, I'm going to read an article in a moment from Court Offside giving you some information, but before we do, let me just talk about this idea in theory. I think the story being offered back to Chelsea, if they could offload him, is probably because he wouldn't go anywhere else. Real Madrid was his end game destination, and when you've got a player that considers himself at the end game, you would be very hard for them to convince to transfer and sign for another club. This story is probably coming from the idea that Eden Hazard would only sign for one other club, and that's probably the place where he made his name and played so well at Chelsea Football Club. Let's read a little about this article from Court Offside, get some context, and then I'll give you my thoughts. Real Madrid are working on a deal which would see Eden Hazard return to Chelsea, according to AS. Hazard's 2 seasons as a Real Madrid player, on an individual level, have been nothing short of a disaster. The Premier League legend has displayed a complete inability to remain fit for any significant period of time. Considering the enormity of Real Madrid's expense on the Belgian, it could go down as one of the most disappointing transfers in football history. While Hazard's stock in the football world is as low as it's ever been, he still has admirers at Stamford Bridge, with the whole fan base adoring him after what he achieved in Chelsea colours. True, he is loved at Chelsea by the players, staff, and of course, their fans. Many fans have reservations on a proposed return, which I'm going to talk about in just a second. Let's read the second and final paragraph from this extract. Real Madrid appeared to be keen to take advantage of that fact, with AS reporting that the club are prepared to let him return to Chelsea for a fee in the region of €60 million, brackets £51 million. That figure is thought to be on the high side from Chelsea's perspective, but AS claims there are intermediaries who are already discussing the possibility with the Blues. As far as the report suggests, Thomas Tuchel is not too fussed about getting a new winger in this summer, but Hazard is a unique case from a Chelsea perspective. Well, Thomas Tuchel is an intelligent footballing man. He will know absolutely what Eden Hazard is and what he can offer in the Premier League climate. Even if he's not a nailed-on starter all the time, what a super sub to bring off the bench. Yeah, remember when we used to bring Hazard off the bench the few times we didn't start him at Chelsea? He would demolish the opposition. My mind goes back to the Antonio Conte masterclass against Tottenham when he didn't start Diego Costa or Eden Hazard and just brought them both off the bench, and we put 4 past Tottenham later on when they were tired. Hazard is an incredible tool. Yes, people will be right to be commenting down right now in the comment section about perhaps he won't be the same. Not because he's old, because he's 30 years old. That isn't old, especially for a sort of player that doesn't rely on, he's not an N'Golo Kante type that relies on his engine. He relies on his football intelligence and his ability with the ball at his feet, which you don't lose. Yes, of course, it's a certain element of romanticism to see Eden Hazard return to Stamford Bridge. He was the most talented player in the Premier League when he was playing in the Premier League, and the Premier League is the hardest and best league in the world. I just want to assert that message because I don't want people to just, push away the idea thinking he's a terrible footballer and it would be a terrible move. My only reservation with this would be that he's not going to be part of the Tuchel pressing system that very much relies on a team unit, everyone pulling their weight. That would be my only reservation. But like many things, if Thomas Tuchel clears the idea of it, if he thinks, you know what, that makes sense, I could use him in my team. We've got, plenty more people off the books. Bring in Eden Hazard for £40 million. If we can negotiate that down to £40 million, it's only a few million more than what we spent on Hakim Ziyech. In many ways, would you swap Hakim Ziyech for Eden Hazard? There's only 3 years between them, and one of them's considered like a Premier League great. I'm just putting it out there, friends. Anyway, this is ultimately a silly season story, even if there is truth to intermediaries talking between Real Madrid and Chelsea about a possible move. I don't think this is going to happen, personally. Still, feel free to comment your thoughts, feelings and emotions on this story down in the comment section below, and we'll start up a conversation about it. Right then, let's move on to the second part of this story and talk about Timo Werner, and of course, that big Norwegian fella, Erling Haaland. Right, today's story is coming from 90 Min, talking about sources, talking about the fact how Timo Werner would be willing to go to Dortmund as a make-way in a deal for Erling Haaland. Now, yes, of course, swap deals rarely ever happen. But in the case of Erling Haaland being an incredible, striker, an incredible situation, an incredible circumstance, maybe it can happen in this instance. And of course, Dortmund would be looking for a striker. Dortmund's knowledge of Timo Werner is he was an absolute gunman in the Bundesliga only so recently, and he's since left to go to Chelsea. Got like 27 goal involvements in what is deemed a disastrous season for him, and he's won the Champions League as an important starter, learning new traits, learning new skills, making the decoy run in the Champions League final to see his teammate Kai Havertz score the winner. Important factors here. Dortmund might view Timo Werner as an amazing Erling Haaland alternative replacement, plus the opportunity to make loads of money on top. Maybe. Does this mean I personally would be happy losing Timo Werner? No. But do you have to make sacrifices for the greater good sometimes? Probably. Now, of course, I'm not reporting this as gospel as per the norm. I'm just merely reacting to a headline here. And we're going to jump into the article talking about it from 90 Min now. Timo Werner is open to the idea of leaving Chelsea this summer, 90 Min understands, as the Blues pursue a new top-class striker. Chelsea beat Liverpool and Bayern Munich to Werner's signature last summer, when the player decided not to wait to 2021 to leave Leipzig. Both Liverpool and Bayern wanted Werner to hold off to the summer to move clubs, when his release clause at Leipzig would have been around £35 million. But Werner did not want to wait and was happy to accept the move to Chelsea, who agreed to pay a higher release sum at the time. Yeah, people forget, but it was actually quite the coup to get Timo Werner at Chelsea, especially when he seemed so nailed on to go to Liverpool or Bayern the season before, and maybe that season as well. Considering Chelsea only just scraped top 4 and, wasn't looking as powerful as they are now, that was a great result. However, things did not go according to plan individually for Werner last season, as just 6 league goals followed under Frank Lampard and Thomas Tuchel. He did manage to help Chelsea seal a top 4 place and pick up a Champions League winners medal though, so it wasn't all bad. One major issue for Werner though is the fact that Chelsea have made no secret of their determination to sign a new world-class striker ahead of the next campaign. Yeah, certainly no secret at all. They have Erling Haaland in their sights, as 90 Min first revealed back in December and followed up earlier this month, along with Romelu Lukaku and Antoine Griezmann, and Werner knows that his chances could become more and more limited should a big name arrive. Werner's representatives have touched base with Dortmund to let them know he would be open to being considered as part of their ongoing bid for Haaland. Tammy Abraham has also been offered, but Werner is now in the mix too. Yeah, reportedly Dortmund aren't interested in Tammy Abraham, but like I said previously, Timo Werner has already exploded in the Bundesliga, scoring an incredible amount of goals. They'll be fancying a bit of that as a Haaland replacement, with loads of money on top, you'd assume. Bayern also remain huge fans of Werner, and given Chelsea would want to recoup the money they paid for him a year ago for any outright sale, only so many clubs could finance it. Juventus and Paris Saint-Germain are also monitoring the situation, but it is believed that Werner would ideally like to return to Germany. A source with knowledge of the situation told 90 Min, quote, Werner is not unhappy at Chelsea, far from it, but he also knows the club are looking for a new striker, so if he has to move on, he is prepared to do it, end quote. Poor Werner, that's cold. Look man, here's my opinion. I really like Timo Werner. He's not a centre forward that Chelsea want or need, but he's a forward that Chelsea enjoy. And what I mean by that is, he's very, very effective. I don't think Chelsea had designs for Timo Werner of what he's become. But what he has become is a very important player with loads and loads of contributions. Wins loads of penalties, offers loads of assists, and despite loads of, sitters in between, can score the odd goal. And you'd imagine that would get better. I don't want to lose Timo Werner at pretty much any cost, except maybe one, if it means we can get Erling Haaland. Now look, I listened to the Londoners Blue podcast like many people, and Matt Law was on chatting to the boys, and he kind of talked me out of Haaland in many ways, saying, look, if it's 150 million plus those wages, plus the agent fees for one young lad who we don't know how is going to perform in England straight away, there's so much riding on that in terms of what you could upset in the dressing room, what you could upset financially, and there is risk, especially when the next summer he goes for less than half. And with that, I was like, yeah. But if you could sweeten Dortmund's idea of the deal by giving them an elite Bundesliga gunman like Timo Werner, who's just won the Champions League and his confidence should be higher, then maybe suddenly a deal can be done. And although that would suck, because understandably many Chelsea fans love Timo Werner, you just start Christian Pulisic on the left, or Hudson-Odoi on the left, who's looking really, really good in training apparently under Tuchel. You've got options, do you know what I mean? Who knows, maybe Musonda comes into the squad or something like that. I don't want Timo Werner to go, and it would be sad, and I think everyone would constantly look back negatively on it, no matter how good Erling Haaland does. You'd be like, but Werner was so good when we won the Champions League, and da-da-da-da-da. But anyway, if this story is true, then it would certainly make a lot of fans consider it. So what do you think, guys? Would you let Timo Werner go plus money to try and seal a deal for Erling Haaland, or would you just wait and keep Timo Werner because he's been pretty darn good ultimately? Let me know. Comment down in the comment section below. I'll be keen on reading your thoughts. That's probably it. So drop a like on your way out to show your support. Subscribe if you're new, friends. Enjoy the football, and I will see you later.
You ain't so tough with that bad boy tuck. I'ma get it how I'm living, I'ma walk the walk. Outline my lines, I rap through thought. Body bag the verse, outlined in chalk. In my life seen trouble, hustle on the double. Silence on the trigger like my pick got a muzzle. Yo chick like to guzzle, bad boy stay in trouble. I only love this paper, sorry I don't. I laugh me baby.